What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Room.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games this weekend. The Premier League's back. Full slate of college football. The Lions can't lose. Oh, I didn't just jinx them there. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I was great until you jinxed the Lions there. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
The
Damage is done. Too late.
it's gonna be an interesting show.
You don't say.
What
What are we going to talk about?
I don't know. We've got a lot of groovy on Twitter questions, and we will dig into them.
It's just amazing, though, when you wake up and you go, there's nothing that can happen, right? And then this Harbaugh thing comes out, and I'm like, why does either fan base talk shit? Like, what's the point of it? You can talk shit about how bad MSU was doing, and all of a sudden, I don't know if anything's... Anyway.
Well, and you're essentially you're taking the side of someone that you don't have any control over.
Right.
Right? So if forever you were like die hard on the Mel Tucker train, you didn't know what Mel Tucker was doing, or you didn't know what was about to happen. If you're just, it's the sort of blind defense of these men who A, don't give a shit about you,
Right.
and B, you don't really have that much of a sense of their character. And yet, because they are yours and your team, and I understand it is what it is.
I will say, though, I would rob a bank with Jim Harbaugh. Because he would have no idea. I'm sorry, what? We robbed a bank? No, I don't know anything about that.
You'd probably get out of it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Lie until they show you videotape is Harbaugh's thing.
And you would rob a bank with Dan Campbell.
I would, yes.
See, there you go, because he makes you happy.
Yes, and he wouldn't tell on me.
Right. It's not a
For
thing.
bros like that, yeah.
Right. So that, there are...
Sorry, I just thought about robbing a bank with Dan Campbell. It'd be kind of wild.
It would be kind of wild. It's gonna be a good Groovy Done Twitter question show. Before we get to those, as we do with every end of week show, what we are betting this weekend, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Looking for a place to maybe watch games this weekend? You don't want to be anywhere near Spartan Stadium? Try the Daisy's Tap Room and Firekeepers Sportsbook down off of I-94 near Battle Creek. It's a great sportsbook experience. You'll enjoy the whole casino vibe is really cool there. Or if you're going to be in the stadium, download the app, live bet the game. You might be able to console yourself a little if things go wrong. What are you betting this weekend, Jason?
Well, it's the parlay that we talked about with Harry. I have to say that USC money line against Utah, Tennessee alternate line +10 against Bama. You guys claim that Joe Milton's the best quarterback in that game, Graham. And Duke +14. Apparently Riley Leonard's going to play. I like the 14, the 2 TDs without Riley Leonard, but with them, I'm kind of liking this parlay now.
I really like Duke too. I like where your head is there. So soccer's back. I got some stuff there. I am going to take a little on Penn State against Ohio State. I think there's a chance Penn State's just a better team than Ohio State, and if they are, I want to be right about that. So I'm going to
money line,
a little sprinkle on the money line, a little both. Yep, like it both ways. Premier League is back, so naturally I'm all in. Arsenal, Chelsea, love the under 2.5. Two teams that I think will be it'll be a cagey match. I just don't really. I love that -108. Big fan of that. Kind of like the under in Crystal Palace, Newcastle at Crystal Palace under 2.5. A lot of unders to watch in soccer, which would not be Jason's favorite way to watch the sport.
I mean, I don't like unders, period, but yeah, soccer one.
Gonna take a long shot. Everton at Liverpool +678. Maybe get that on the draw, no bet as well. I like that a little bit. Brighton and Manchester City. Don't hate a flyer there, but I'm probably not going to be on it this weekend. And another long shot that I like a little bit. Luton Town +431 at Nottingham Forest. Those are the games that I'm going to be playing around with and betting this weekend. And that is what we're betting, presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason.
Yeah, man.
Before we dig into these groovy donut Twitter questions. Major announcement from Groovy Donuts. This is cool. So, Groovy Donuts partnering with the MSU Dairy Store for donut ice cream sandwiches.
Smart.
Brilliant.
Do we get to try them?
We'll get in on this for sure. Yeah. More details to come. They'll be available as early as this Friday, October 20th. So we'll see if that if those are ready to go, we will.
The people asked for it.
Yeah.
Now they're going to get it. It's
Yes.
going to be amazing.
Groovy Donuts is one of the most responsive. Monica and Andrew, you want something, they deliver. And if you want something else from Groovy Donuts, like you just want some donuts with Dan Campbell's face on it, or something like that, with Jim Harbaugh's face, with Urban Meyer's face, with Urban Meyer eating pizza on a donut, Monica and Andrew can do that for you. Go to groovydonuts.com, place your order today. They will custom make your fall color donuts, whatever it is. They'll custom make your donuts for the tailgate, or just swing out and buy Groovy Donuts on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. They're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. Again, groovydonuts.com.
I'm not going to lie, I thought you were about to announce you're going to the Athletic. I forgot about the Groovy Donuts thing from this morning. Andrew sent it to us. So.
I think I missed that window.
Oh.
You remember the one time on April Fool's Day, I said I was going to the Athletic Lansing. I was going to start covering the lug nuts and high school water polo, and a lot of more people bought that joke than ever because I timed it in the middle of everybody's athletic announcements.
Because everyone loves a good April Fool's Day joke, am I right?
Yeah, it's got a
People
little,
love those.
We all have our time. I wouldn't leave the Lansing Station for anything in the world. So
Now you have a price.
we all have it.
Exactly.
All right, let's dig into these Groovy Donut Tour questions.
I would do a show with Pat Caputo for the right price. Eric Schultz up first. What would you set the over-under for Caden Hauser interceptions at? Does Michigan see him and go, lunch? 1.5?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's part of me that thinks, hey, maybe Caden Hauser hangs in there. He's okay. This things goes all right. I would set the over-under at 1.5, and I would take the over. I mean, I wouldn't bet my mother's house on it, but I would take the over for sure. And by the way, one quick thing on the announcement on Groovy Donuts: those will only be available at the MSU Dairy Store. That is the Groovy Donut. I mean, because they don't actually do ice cream in Groovy Donuts, so the Groovy Donuts MSU Dairy Store combo ice cream sandwiches will be available at the MSU Dairy Store. So the rest of your donut needs Groovy Donuts. Groovy Donuts, MSU Dairy Store combo at the MSU.
Yeah, so don't go in their stores and say, where's the ice cream donut combo thing?
Give me my fucking ice cream.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, not a great, not nice, not nice dog. I put 1.5, and I would go over. Would you go over on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric Schultz, Arns, Langford twice, Akins, Hall, and now Kohler have all needed foot surgeries in the past handful of seasons. But this is normal, right? Every other school averages about a foot surgery per year too, don't they? Your pals who cover other schools can confirm this, yes?
So it does seem like a lot, and it's been...
Hold on. Come on. This is...
I think it has definitely reached the point of being worth some comparative story, right? However, I will say this.
Yes.
We know, if this was MSU football, we just wouldn't even know this shit.
But it's not football.
What I'm saying, though, is we know this because most basketball programs don't tell you this. Izzo's out there with the freaking x-ray, pointing, he's usually mislabeling what's happened, but he's pointing to the x-ray and telling you the details, probably violating every HIPAA law ever known to man, but that's Izzo, he doesn't give a shit. He's telling you what happened. In Indiana, you wouldn't fucking know. It'd just be a guy with a boot or a guy, whatever, you wouldn't even know it's the same thing. You would not have the details. You wouldn't. And so a lot of places, there just isn't the data. A lot of writers won't even know the specifics. They keep things in-house pretty well. So
but you can't tell if a guy's sitting out for multiple weeks?
Well, no. Part of it is absolutely. And I do think it is, it's not just, people think I talked to just one dude about this, but I've talked to several people. This is a very, very common injury in basketball. And there is some data on this that we'll start to look into.
I need data.
I don't care if I do the story. I don't care if, like, I know Kyle Austin and MLive is interested in it. Somebody needs to do the story and I think look into this stuff a little bit because it is, I don't think it's MSU specific. I really don't. I mean, you can look at them at Team Cleves. They were wearing Reeboks. Now they're wearing Nikes. They changed the practice floor. They redid the gym at one point. You know, like it, you know, they've had really good trainers, different trainers over the years. Like it is not, I do not think it has anything to do with MSU. I think sometimes there are, you know, you see more of these days because kids are too focused on one sport. They use the same muscle, same foot repeatedly throughout, you know, AAU tournaments and everything growing up. Like you'd be better off playing multiple sports until you get deep into high school. I think that's probably a reason for certain sort of wear and tear injuries. But I do not think this is MSU related. But I am willing to be open-minded to if there is an issue there. I don't.
There's an issue then. Yes, there is.
Here's
how many players do you need?
Okay, but here will be a comment, and here I think this is important. Other than Langford, whose foot kind of, you know, fell apart, there rarely or if ever there's been two at a time, and there's never been a repeat one either. You know what I mean? Like it's not like guys are coming back and you're hitting that foot thing is happening again. You know, like the same guy. So I don't think it's like something they're doing. I mean, they care very much about these guys' futures. Miles Bridges had one of these things, right? It was kind of under the radar, and they didn't want it to really be out there. But I think they called it an ankle at the time, and that's what a lot of schools will call these. A lot of times when another school calls it an ankle, a high ankle sprain, it's actually a stress fracture, and we don't actually hear it. But you know who didn't have another one of those problems? Miles Bridges. You know, so like, I just don't think it's an MSU related thing. But if I am not somebody who's going to sit here and say, I know for sure. I know they don't think it's an MSU thing, obviously. I know people I've talked to who aren't around MSU don't think it's an MSU thing, they think it's a basketball thing. And I think some of it is just their openness about this stuff.
Dominic next. Graham, have I ever been wrong? I said Sowards was 9/11 returning punts. You championed ball security. I denounced Shep from day one. You said he's a nice guy. I said Warner was AIDS. You yelled about 2014. I said MSU has a foot problem. You texted a 14-year-old intern at Dunham's. Yeah, who are these people? We need to have them on next week.
No, these are like
talk to.
Actual strength and conditioning people and trainer people. Yeah, no,
I need stats. I need to know.
All right.
I'm just saying. Maybe you might be right. I think that you would have had some sort of facts come out, or you would have brought some to the table.
What's so funny is MSU is aware. Like MSU is aware.
Well, yeah.
Oh, one of these again.
I mean, is it just a coincidence? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, and I'm not saying they don't play hard and work hard and everything, but like it is. I mean, I don't know what you do. These are young guys playing basketball on in a pristine court in new decent shoes. Now, I would argue Nikes are shit, and I've said this before, if I was one of the sweatshop employees building those shoes, I would sabotage them so feet would all the time explode. If I ran a school, I wouldn't care how much Nike paid me. We wouldn't have a Nike affiliation. That's my own thing. I'm a New Balance guy. Those shoes are made in Maine, at least I'm told. Might be, could be somewhere else, and I could be lied to.
Maine, Taiwan.
Yeah. It's not Bangor, Maine. It's Bangladesh, man. Anyway, yeah, I do not think it's MSU related.
All right, Dominic, next with this one. I said Jay Johnson was ass. You said he's been a very good coordinator at times. I said there was a blue wall, and there's been 557 clear as day examples, and the best you'll offer is a blue curtain. This is the part where you say we might as well cancel college sports.
You know the worst part is, I think I said this line on Spartan Speak today. It was so
Oh no!
Yeah, I went to one of the favorites. Turn to the greatest hits. I hate when I do that. I apologize.
You hate when you do that? It's every day. What do you mean?
I'm trying to get better. We need to come up with a soundbite or something where you just smack me down when I turn to a greatest hit.
Work on that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Dominic, I said Scott Docterman would take the Iowa money line against 2019 LSU, and you said, I agree, Scott, the Big Ten East just has an Ohio State problem. Anyway, y'all know how I feel about the Athletic.
Oh, man. I want Dominic to read my obituary someday, or write it.
Better than Adam Schefter. Dominic, Jason, make sure Graham knows that while I'm angry, I watch the 2 worst football teams in America every Saturday and Sunday, so it isn't personal. But another thing that grinds my gears, hey MSU fans, at least you'll have the Lions. Not all of us do, Couch.
It's a good point. The Lions it's not some monolithic move from Michigan State to the Lions.
And he has the Bears and Michigan State, I mean, back to back.
And I'm not even, there's something that I mention occasionally for Dominic, and he drops the meme of Yankee Thingped. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but it's the reason the Lions didn't win the Super Bowl in 1995. And I know it hurts Dominic when I bring it up about the quarterback situation. So I will stay away from it.
What do I have to smack you with again?
Yeah.
Teaming or?
Yeah. Sorry, Dominic. I can't believe Dominic still listens. I appreciate that.
Lucas next. If this Michigan stuff is true, and it sure seems like it, and lines up well with them only losing to TCU and Georgia lately, Harbaugh is totally leaving at season's end, right? And from DC Spartan. If true, what does this new news about Harbaugh and sign stealing likely mean? Vacated wins, bowl ban, scholarship limits, etc.?
Yeah, I don't know whether he'll leave or not. I still think Jim Harbaugh will coach again in the NFL. I don't know when that'll happen. What I don't know is, like, if it's rolling a little bit and he beats Ohio State again and they're in the playoff again, and how much is it determinative of how they do in the playoff? If he's dominating Ohio State, does he want to leave it at that? Or does he want to keep this rolling? It seems like he's got a pretty good deal going on.
Yeah, but does he want to keep dealing with the NCAA, who it appears has it out for him?
It's a fair question. And then also, what's the job he would want in the NFL? That Bears job, right? And if that Bears is open this year,
2 picks.
I don't know how Dominic would feel about that, but I can see him wanting to do. I think if the Bears job opens again, I would be surprised if Harbaugh, especially with the draft picks they have, if he's not interested in. If they're interested in him, I still don't know for sure how big the NFL is on him. I don't. I mean, it doesn't seem like the NFL has been that huge into him, even though I think he's a really good coach. In terms of what it means, vacated wins, bowl ban, scholarship limit, it's hard to tell with the NCAA. They have teeth in random places. Like, Kansas can commit war crimes and there's like nothing, although I would say the last thing that happened with Kansas had more to do with a guy who wound up at Duke. I mean, there's a lot of shit with Kansas, but that one wasn't a great case. So I don't know. It seems like what he did, the level 1 violation, is one of the more serious things. I don't know what they'll do with him, and I certainly think if he feels pushed out and he has an opportunity, he's much more likely to go. But I don't know what they'll. I can't imagine.
And would the Bears make? I mean, that seems like it would be the right move, is to hire Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Finally hire a coach that has a proven track record,
He's a
not
really good coach.
Eberflus.
Really good coach. Guy's been he's been to a Super Bowl. He's rebuilt Michigan. He built Stanford into something. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, he's a really good coach, and they do lose a number of guys on Michigan's roster this year. It would make sense to do. I don't think there'll be a bowl ban. They're getting away from punishing current players for transgressions of.
But what about the Vegas aspect? I heard that Vegas is, I don't know which sport books we're talking about it, but maybe taking Michigan games off the board for the future games. I don't know.
I would, yeah. I mean,
because when you start messing with Vegas, that's when it becomes real for me, right?
Well, no doubt.
They're taking your games off the board.
Well, it becomes real for TV networks, because I hate to tell you this, people ain't watching because they love the teams. Like, there is a percent, you will see a ratings dip in almost any game. There may be a game that people really want to watch, it's just a showcase, but in most games, you will see a ratings dip if people can't gamble on it, for sure.
Quilt Monkey next. After the Michigan allegations came out today, do you think the NCAA rejecting the suspension agreement with Harbaugh could have been because they uncovered new information? Or is this a coincidence? What's the over-under on when the free Harbaugh shirts reappear?
Yeah, that's pretty corny. I love that he just said he doesn't have any information. It's, maybe it is the...
It's impossible.
Knowing what the right hand's doing, but that would be crazy. And the NCAA doesn't look kindly on that. The whole point is you're supposed to have institutional control, like you're supposed to... and again, the NCAA has teeth randomly. What they really don't like to is being lied to. That's what I've sort of gathered from recent developments. The timing's interesting. I don't know when the investigation began, whether that had anything to do with it or not.
Maybe BB next. Should this MSU-Michigan game this year be a night game?
I mean, ideally, it probably wouldn't, because number one, it can be a toxic place. I don't know how bad it's going to be this year, but it just feels like a night game should be a big game and a celebratory game and an event. This year doesn't feel like an event, but here's the deal. With the NBC having a primetime game every week, forget the old Big Ten Network night games, and there only being so much inventory, there can only be one good Big Ten game a week because there are only 3 good Big Ten teams. Like 2 of them are playing each other this week. Fox gets it. CBS is going to start having games. It's going to help when the West Coast teams come in, but there are going to be shitty games at night. And in terms of the pecking order of who gets what, this stuff's going to happen more often. I think we're just going to have to get used to that.
Next one from Maybe. Can Hard Knocks come to EL and break the Liz Frank curse for the men's basketball team?
Man, old Liz.
I mean, even Maybe believes in Liz Frank.
I got a lot of emails about Liz Frank. There are people listening to the show who are in on Liz. Yeah. The fact that I would never, I mean, my wife's name is Elizabeth, but I would never name somebody Liz anymore because I just feel with that.
Jeff Peterson, next. Graham, in 2018 you predicted MSU's offense would be prolific, but were horribly wrong. In 2023 you correctly predicted that MSU would have a hard time scoring. What did you miss in 2018 that you saw in 2023?
Yeah, I believed in that roster more than I should have, obviously. And Felton Davis was on that. LJ Scott was a senior on that 2018 team, I believe. Yes. And I just thought, and they were coming off the 2017 season where they went 10-3. And one of the guys I misread more than anybody was Lewerke. Like, I loved him as a young quarterback. I thought, quick feet, live arm. The accuracy never got that much better. He had some injuries. He never got that much better. He never took the steps I thought he would. But I really liked him as a young player, and I thought he was going to be a great quarterback, or at least a very good one at Michigan State. And he had some moments, and so I think that was it. I thought they had some good playmakers. I thought they had a quarterback who was going to come into his own, and I just missed, and I just liked that group in terms of guys I thought would be problems for other people, and it just never came to pass. And the injuries that year were a huge. I mean, that team was not that good. That offense wasn't that good, but Lewerke getting hurt that year also, I mean, you remember what was that? That defense was great. There was like 7-7 in the third quarter against Michigan and Ohio State, 2 straight games. They had a quarterback playing with one arm. I mean, the whole season was derailed, but again, the offense never was prolific, and you could tell that early on, and part of it was I don't think Lewerke ever took the steps I thought he would.
Logan Tedford next. Do you think the new head coach will prioritize keeping Courtney Hawkins in order to keep Nick Marsh committed?
I don't think you should keep a coach for about one recruit. I don't. And in basketball, maybe that's a little different, but no, I wouldn't do that. I would look at Courtney Hawkins because I think he's a really good coach. I think he's a good recruiter. I think he's the type of person who would be a good head coach. Like, I think he commands a room. I think he's respected. I just find it hard to believe. I mean, even Keon Coleman on his way out the door was talking about what he learned and how much better he got under Courtney Hawkins. Like, I find it hard to believe you're going to find a better coach than Courtney Hawkins, to coach receivers. And I would, and he's a guy who's was in Flint for a number of years recently. He's not like he bounced around college jobs. He's a Michigan State legacy guy. He's a guy I would look at hard. Now, if he doesn't fit what you want to do, and you have your own guy, that's going to be up to the next person. But I don't think it should have anything to do with Nick Marsh, but I just think he's a guy that I'd look at hard and keep.
Dave Lakin next. I like Graham's idea of relegation for an 18-team Big Ten football. This could work if revenue money is shared equally among all the universities and athletes that cannot transfer within the conference. How would you initially relegate each division? Past 5-year conference records?
That's a good point, how you started out, right? What I would do is, you could do that, or you could not have, you could say relegation is starting in 3 years, and have a plan to build into it based on records or whatnot. And strength of schedule would matter then, and all sorts of things. People would get upset. I actually think this is a decent column idea. I don't hate this as an idea, because the 2 keys to this, there are a couple things. One, the revenue can't change, because if the revenue changes, then teams are really, as long as everybody's getting the same revenue, but you just get a lot better games. If basically one is a separate league and the top league is playing against each other, and the top 2 teams are coming in and the bottom 2 teams are going out every year, I just, the question really would become, though, is a team in the bottom league that wins. So what I'm basically saying is, if you have 18 teams in the Big Ten, you have 2 9-team leagues essentially, and you play the other 8 teams, and then maybe a protected rival or something. But you play the other 8 teams in your half of the league. If you go 8-0 against the shittier league, is that enough to get you in the playoff? While 4-4, you were actually a better team in the better league, and you don't get it. Like, I think there would have to be some things. It couldn't be an official conference, the lower league. That would be a tough component to kind of look at, but I don't hate my idea.
Shep, next. Graham, regarding the latest MSU hoops foot injury. Remember last summer when I asked you to investigate how MSU has 5 times more foot injuries than any other program, and in response you called one guy and reported back, yeah, it happens the same everywhere. Pulitzer Prize for investigative journalism incoming.
Appreciate it, Shep. It was more than one guy.
Couple guys.
It was a couple. Yeah, it was a couple guys.
Now, did that guy know a guy? Were you guys all on the phone at the same time?
It was a couple guys and then one other person. So 3 people total. But yes, it was not like I was doing a column where I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna have to really dig into this. I just said, is there something here? My basic question was, do you think there is something here? And none of them thought there was. And that's again.
So is Rick Harder coming on the show next week or what?
It was not him. He's not one of the guys. He's not a trainer. He's a coach.
All right. Joshua next. Did Izzo curse his own team to chronic foot injuries with his comments about Karis LeVert to Rexroad? Izzo cheering for injuries and calling it overuse. It's ironic looking back at it all.
Was that a column?
I don't know.
I'd have to look back and see.
You might have to do some more investigative journalism.
Yeah, I should read somebody else's work.
Beckman. Our Lions fans that are saying it's been forever since we've been this good, memory holding the 7-2 start to the 2014 season, or is this year's team actually much better than the one from 9 years ago?
Do you remember that 2014?
I do. And yes, this team is way better. I mean, remember, we couldn't win on the road to save our lives. We lost games like we haven't this year so far. So this team far exceeds any of the Stafford teams that had any success. I hate to say that because I love Stafford, but it's true.
Let me ask you this now: if you could have Stafford back over Goff, would you take it?
Yes.
You would even now.
Yes.
Okay.
Just because I'm sick of everybody their Jared Goff shit, like they were pro Jared Goff the whole time. It's BS. He looked terrible at times last year. You know it.
Yes.
Stop lying to people. It's okay. It's okay that you wanted to wait long enough to pay Jared Goff. There's a reason the Rams traded him because they didn't believe he could win a Super Bowl for them. Stafford came in the next year and won a Super Bowl for them. So you can understand why we don't want to pay fucking Jared Goff right away.
Both teams won the trade.
I understand, but now I'm okay with it. But Jesus, man, it's like everybody's like, oh man, I was on Goff the whole time.
No,
what?
I watched that Patriots game a year ago, and they were 29-0, 29-3, whatever that was.
4th and 2, and he's running out of bounds.
Yeah,
I mean, it's okay. I mean, he's playing great. Let's pay him. But shit, why not? We've been burned so many times.
And I think you still have to, the conversation, he doesn't just get to be the highest paid guy because he's next up when he's up. I think the beauty with Goff is that he's already been paid. So that.
Yeah, but they have us by the balls, though.
Do they?
Goff and his agent. Yes. What else can we do out there?
Draft Michael Penix.
Fuck out of here. For the short term? I'm not saying give Goff a 6-year contract. I don't know what he's going to want. If he wants more guaranteed money up front, I don't think I have a problem with that.
I do love the franchise tag for this reason. There is the ability to, Goff will get paid big time, but it'll be a short-term deal. You can always do that if you really need to do it.
Yeah, but if that's going to piss off Goff, we have a good thing going. Let's just not screw it up by pissing people off.
Here's the thing, though. I do want quarterbacks to understand this. You get paid, and you know who doesn't get paid? Your left guard, your right tackle. So when your ass gets hit, I don't want you to look at them. You get up and go, I got paid, this is what happens. We can't afford other things. We can't afford nice things. I have to be good enough to overcome that. The quarterbacks have to fucking understand that. I just want them to.
Steve Beckman, would Izzo have scheduled the open scrimmage on Saturday if football was better?
No. he always said it today, availability tonight, and no, he's doing this for the football program because they just had, and it's going to be, it sounds like it's going to be a fun scrimmage for those who go. I mean, it's going to be they're going to go at, they're going to coach them. It's going to be like a full competitive scrimmage. I think he said something like, not the bullshit we do at Midnight Madness or whatever. But they just had Midnight Madness. They're going to have an exhibition game Wednesday. Then they have another exhibition Sunday. Like, there's lots of opportunities to see them. And this is something he really hasn't done consistently since earlier in his tenure. He's doing this to help the football program. He's giving people one more reason to be on campus, to stick around and go to the game, and I think he thinks this is doing his part.
Chris Fletcher next. Who's the next Spartan basketball player to have his number retired? Was his Achilles injury the reason it's not Kalen Lucas? I still feel Valentine deserves it before Winston, but I feel I'm in the minority.
It's a good question. I should ask where they are on this, because Winston will have his number retired. I think Valentine will. And Kalen Lucas is a two-time Big Ten Player of the Year, and there are criteria that are specific for this, and Winston certainly reaches them. I think Valentine and Lucas do too.
But when does it get out of hand? I mean, I know that these guys have all done something here while they were at Michigan State, but we just start retiring everyone's number.
I think there also becomes a time where you stop retiring and just honor. So somebody else can be wearing a number that's also up in the rafters. I think that there can be a distinction there as well. Because at a certain point, you're right. Nobody can wear this, and this. And frankly, if some really great recruit wants to come in and wants a number, let them wear it.
Mojo Jojo next. Finish these, if you please. Kate, I just want to go one by one here.
Sure.
Caden Hauser stays next year if
He starts the rest of the season.
Tom Izzo extends his championship window and run if blank happens this season.
So extends means it doesn't. You say they don't win it this year, but it extends the window. If
things look on the up and up for 5 years, going to be competitive. I don't know.
Yeah, if something happens this season, I think if enough guys, if Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr and Xavier Booker are all back next season after having years and feel good about things.
Lions Dog 97 next. Why did Alan Haller allow the football team to put on thy shadows when he knew that at least there was a pending investigation against Mel? It's not like it had publicly been planned for 10 months. Just tweet out the video and some photos and call it a day. Weird move.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't. I think that's more evidence he didn't know some of the specifics. I don't think they knew the timing of it. And also, the thing is, what are you going to do there? You're going to say you stop trying to advance your cause and engage with your fan base and build the program because you know something unpleasant is coming? Like that.
But the jerseys, I mean, they're pretty hideous, so it's not going to matter, right? Because they're going to lose to Michigan, and we're going to be like, all right, just ban those.
Don't wear those again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a weird spot to be in. All that stuff was a weird spot, kind of.
Plus size volleyball dad next. What's your predicted score if Michigan only runs the ball? Predicted score if they throw 100% of the time?
Well, Michigan would lose because these are still college kids, and it's not like this is like, Jason versus 6-year-old, right? It's not.
Huh?
You know what I mean? Like
No.
These are just like they're similar enough that you can't play the game like it's 1985 and just run the ball, or you can't just. Like, if you only did one thing and the other team knows you're going to do it, and they're also Big Ten football players, you're screwed. So I would say if Michigan State knew it was coming, MSU would win decisively in either case, or at least comfortably in either case.
Next one from Plus Size Volleyball Dad. No one actually believes Kohler is playing before the new year, right? We've heard timetables before. Liz Frank is the worst.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is they caught this. They think they caught this early, and so who knows? I mean, was Jaden Akins was back? What was he like? 10 weeks last year, less than that. It was the first time, and I mean, there's a chance he's back before Christmas. I don't think they would. I mean, there's a chance he won't be, but I think the best thing for Kohler is that he is, because there is a period of time where they play less, where there's some time for practicing and getting yourself in shape before the crux of the Big Ten season. Start trying to figure out where you're going to be in the rotation, if you're going to have a role, things like that.
Ken Chu next. Did Keon know shit was about to hit the fan?
No.
Did Charbonneau? That's the all-timer, yeah.
No. That day, Charbonneau was trying to leave over the summer, and he was waiting for the job to be approved. Charbonneau tried to leave earlier. he was not trying to bleed it into football season for sure.
Next one from Ken. Is other teams' heavier use of the portal helping Izzo recruit?
Yes, and Izzo will tell you this. And the players, this is interesting. The players, he would hear players talking about it to some of the guys back for grind week, the NBA guys. The fact that they're not being recruited over with other guys in their class has helped. I don't know how much it's helped them recruit, but it's helped them keep guys. And I think there is, it only works if you have it rolling and guys are staying, because when guys start leaving, you have to replace them in the portal and it gets trickier. But right now, Izzo has found this sweet spot because he's recruiting really well. Guys are sticking around. And so and the lack of using the portal has made him look more loyal to them. And in return, they've been loyal to the program. So yes, the lack of the portal has actually helped us.
Cinnamon next. Now that athletes are being paid via NIL, is it acceptable for fans to boo players when they are not performing well? Seems like all loyalty is gone between players and the team they play for. Everyone for themselves.
Well, a lot of these guys aren't being paid like they were because SD4L pulled the rug out from under their contracts. But
it's still coaches first, though.
Yes, I'm a call on the coaches. Right?
Yeah.
I think the thing that's going to get interesting in the next few years, and the thing that too much focus is on NIL right now, and the court cases, one specifically that really could make players become employees, is the bigger thing to watch, and how that impacts everything in college sports. And I don't think most players want that. Players I've talked to don't really want that. There's a lot of stuff that gets taxed if that happens. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, can they just get rid of you and fire you if you're an employee? Like, there's a lot of stuff that's not as, I don't think, is good. So we'll see where that all goes. But just in terms of the NIL and them being more professional, I think you should just treat people like humans. Remember, everybody has a mother, and if people are playing their ass off and they suck, I think that's different than if you think somebody's quit or isn't giving their all.
Cinnamon, how do I get my takes read on the first half of the show?
Congratulations.
Money.
You made it today.
Or you have to do something for Graham, like run a contest or something like that. Those are the two things, right?
And I'll tell you, a lot of times, like, I do spread out good takes. Like, I put good takes in the bottom half of the show in tension. And I know some people who aren't upset by that and are low maintenance with it. I think I can put you there. It's helping. It's like, really good 6 minutes.
I think like Cinemon's worried about, me getting tired in hour 2 and reading his takes like shit.
I do think that. So there are times that I'm like, oh, fuck, Jason's going to have to read this one badly. He's pissed off by the time we get here. This isn't going to be great. But sometimes I think, and the way I put them together, I put these together, it usually takes about 2 hours for a show. And sometimes I think the show's, something's going to be high in the show, and it starts out higher in the show, and by the time I move things around, it winds up lower. And so there's no
offense to it.
Yeah, don't take any offense.
Sparty Rick next. MSU could benefit from being the first job open in the coaching carousel. Does Texas A&M hate Jimbo enough to pay his buyout? A&M and Miami being open feels like a worst-case scenario for MSU. Thank God we have the Lions, Wings, and MSU winter sports. I love you, Jason.
Sparty Rick all over the place.
I love you too, Rick. All right, thanks, man.
No, I do think there's a benefit to being the first job. Texas A&M, I think, might get rid of Jimbo, and if that happens, I don't.
How much money is he
Miami's gonna be open, but I think A&M might. What's that?
How much is Jimbo owed, though?
A lot.
Holy shit!
I think they're tired of him. I just don't know if that. It's a very different job, and so I think that helps. I know it's also an Aggie school, whatever, but I just think coaching in that area of Texas versus coaching in East Lansing, different leagues, like what, yes, there might be some coaches you lose to that, but that probably wasn't the coach that was the best fit for you anyway. I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think Michigan State will be fine in terms of who it's up against, unless Saban or Title. But again, you should be able to get a good coach in East Lansing.
Lorenzo for Heisman next. Would you trade a Spartan win on Saturday for the Lions not winning the division, but still making the playoffs and having to play their first playoff game on the road? No, I'm good. I'll take winning the division. Fuck it. Yeah.
Because
I'm all in.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
No, this is each their own. I mean, I Michigan, like Jason is a Lions over Michigan State.
Yeah, but Michigan State's a shit show right now. Like, if they won the game, all right, great. It'd be a hell of an upset. But I still want the Lions to have like a home playoff game.
Right.
Sorry, you know.
Right. No, and not winning the division.
Wait till next year or something.
Some things really have to go wrong for the Lions not to win this division. That would
Right.
be horrible. So, there are going to be Michigan State fans who would. I would guess most Michigan State fans, the majority would take a Michigan State win over just about anything the Lions. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good, in yesteryear, that's a good poll question.
Why did we just throw it up on the old Couch in the Rube poll station?
You can do that.
Tim Garvey next. What's your opinion on the overall job being done by Alan Haller? I get football is a big part of the job, but overall I give it a thumbs up.
Well, football determines who you are as an athletic director. And you can do a lot of other great things. And if you don't get football right, you don't get to be the AD. And that's just the way it is. And it kind of is a shitty thing because I do think he's done a lot of good work. And what's good for MSU is he's done a lot of this good work regardless of what happens in football. So hopefully, even if it doesn't work out with Alan Haller, some of these other things he's put in place last a decade. You have good women's volleyball, you have good women's basketball, you have good soccer program. There's a lot of things that he's had influence on. Maybe the softball program finally gets going. What else did he? I'm missing something. Oh, hockey. Fucking A. Whatever happened. Obviously Adam Nightingale looks like a great hire at this point, and that's so. I think that has to be taken into account, but you can't get football wrong, and he knows that. He knows that's the job, and so.
Can you clear your throat? It's making me uncomfortable.
Sorry.
Jesus.
Is that better?
I know. It's like when Bill Simmons does that shit. Will you just stop and just do one of those? It just sounds weird. Sorry. Spartan 18770 next. If you were to pick the next football coach, what would you look for? And please don't say like Wisconsin or Iowa. I would hope not, yeah.
Well, except that Luke Fickell doesn't, Luke Fickell's doing a bad job this year in the sense that he's trying to implement something that is against who Wisconsin is.
But most first-year guys usually have a rough go, right? I mean, unless you walk into a situation that's perfect for you.
Is Luke Fickell Wisconsin's John L. Smith?
Wow. Column.
Because John L. Smith came in to Michigan State, and what pissed a lot of people off right away is he said, you'll never be able to compete physically with Ohio State or Michigan. So you have to have a little more of a gimmick offense, and they had that spread offense. The bullshit of that is that wasn't Michigan State's problem. Discipline, consistency, there are lots of problems. Physically, Michigan State was there. They were a team that beat you up. They could physically play with you. They had years where they won that way. D'Antonio then won with a physical, he was just wrong. But it also annoyed people because people, you talk about D'Antonio who was speaking to the soul of Michigan State fans and understanding what stirred it. John L. did not understand that. And I do worry for Fickell. And maybe it's just going to take a while for him to get his people, and Fickell's a great coach and it all works. But it certainly has not worked this year. So pick the next football coach. I would look for somebody young with energy who, I want to say a sitting head coach because I do think there are things that come with that are really important. Somebody who you thought kids want to play for, but also was probably a creative offensive mind. I mean, there's an argument to be made that what you really need in some ways is the Dan Campbell of the world, and then you hire coordinators who are great, right? And you need somebody who's just... The problem with that is essentially what P.J. Fleck is. He's not Dan Campbell. What I mean is he doesn't actually run an offense or a defense. He can't fix either one. And I do think even though like a guy like Kalen DeBoer at Washington has an offensive coordinator who's calling the plays, it's Kalen DeBoer's offense. It's his, if he's got to replace that coordinator because they move on, he knows what he wants. It's his deal. It's his sort of thing. D'Antonio had the same deal with his defense. You need somebody who does, and I think an offensive mind would be where my head would be. I think fairly young, energetic, somebody who wants to play.
But what about if Elko and Duke maybe even win the game at Florida State this weekend? Do you think that would boost, obviously, Elko in a lot of people's minds, right?
Yeah,
Or even cover the spread. I don't know.
until Urban Meyer's completely out of the picture, nothing.
You need a backup plan.
Nothing else anybody can do. But yes, no, I think Elko's a really good coach. What he's done there is impressive. He's been a coordinator and assistant at A&M. He's been a successful assistant several places, and he's taken a place that's hard to win in football, and he's won. And I think that is not to be overlooked. I think, Michigan State is not a place you automatically win in football, but it's easier to win at MSU than it is Duke. And I think that is something to pay attention to. Now, he's, doesn't fit all the things I just said, but he might be really effective. And I would, I'm also not going to be in the interview room.
Next one from Spartan. Guys, what is the worst advice that you've ever received?
What's the worst?
Maybe you should do a podcast with Graham. Have you ever thought about that? No, it was my dad. It was back in the day when I was working with Stout. I was doing the morning thing with Stout, the show, and then I was going into the TV station, and I absolutely loved the schedule. I loved what I was doing. And my dad, I had this offer for this industrial job, which I ended up despising. It was the worst job I've ever had. And of course, he told me, because it was more money and financial stability and all that shit. So it wasn't the worst. I mean, it was just kind of like, man, I needed someone to kind of tell me to stay with it. But because it was a great schedule. Being happy is almost better than a couple extra $100. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was $1,000 more a month or anything. It was a couple $100. So
yeah,
but I was young, and
I needed somebody. To me, the worst. I mean, I've been given bad advice here and there, but the worst advice, and some was a lack of advice I needed a couple different times, and one was when I was deciding whether to take the Lansing State Journal job, and I didn't realize how badly my parents wanted me to take it. They were trying to stay out of my business. And it was the right job for me to take. And I initially turned it down.
Wow.
And eventually, and some of that was some financial stuff that we had to come to terms on, all that stuff. That's
a baller move. Look at you.
But I was not, they were treating me really well at MLI. And MLI was, we just made that transition. Things were new there. They financially taking care of me fine. I was covering Michigan State. But in the back of my mind, I think I knew I wanted this. And when I initially turned it down, I think they were really disappointed. And if they had been more willing to talk it through with me, and there was some advice to be given on why I should take it, and they were 100% right in terms of impact on the community I grew up in, what it would mean to me over time. And I think that lack of advice nearly led to a situation where I wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be doing this show, I wouldn't have met my wife, all because they didn't speak up. So, yeah, there you go, Mom, Dad. Good work on that. That is the story almost worth telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue. If you are looking for a date this weekend, a drink after work, Sunday brunch after whatever happens with the Michigan State game, I'm telling you, Midtown Brewing Company, outstanding menu, great beer selection. The American Stout is my favorite. You bring a significant other there. It's not just some cookie cutter place. It's a great, cool place, good vibes, great food. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check out their menu.
Next one from Spartan 18770. If MSU wins, what survival plan should I have to hold out until the National Guard arrives?
See, I think that I was talking to Matt Mancarini about this today, name drop.
Yeah.
And because he's the weekend reporter, Saturday reporter at the LSJ this weekend. They rotate shifts and whatnot. And you're always hoping when you're the weekend reporter, like, the riots don't break out, right? You just want to go home and have a beer. And you get a night football game at MSU, you got to be on call. You got to be sober. And so he was asking me, like, what would have to happen for there to be issues that you should really be worried about? And I said, truth be told, it's if MSU wins. Like, I don't think there's enough juice to this game. Most students will already be at the parties by the time the game's over. If it's a blowout, the night game almost makes it less. But if MSU won like an epic game over Michigan completely unexpectedly, that student body is immature enough to riot. Like, that's the time it happens. The completely unexpected, biggest upset ever over Michigan. And it would be, despite the point spread being similar to it's been like in 2020, because we know more. Like, you go through all the upsets of Michigan State, Michigan, it has never been like this. Like, this is not going to happen, I'm telling you. But if it were to happen, it has never been like this.
Mark Snyder next.
So the survival plan, just, lock your doors, watch the other games,
Bring grizzly bear mace.
there you go. Good suggestion.
Spin in a 360 and spray it. Mark Snyder next. Went to the DeWitt-Everett game last Friday. Depressing. On the Everett side, they had 30 players, 15 in the band, no fans, and uninterested cheerleaders. How can such a lack of school spirit happen at a school with over 1,100 students?
Yeah, this is what school choice has done to Lansing schools, because you've lost a lot of invested parents and invest. I mean, it just is what it is. It sucks, and I've seen this in Lansing Sex and other places where you don't. Because the other thing is, you no longer have the community going to, like in Grand Ledge or DeWitt or Palama, Westphalia. You still have the community rallying around a football team at night. It's a thing. These aren't neighborhood schools in Lansing. Even in Lansing, kids who live on the west side go to Eastern or go to the south side of Everett. They're not there. They don't walk. Edward Majeski Stadium Friday night, Lansing Sexton in the 1990s. You just walked over. Everybody went. And it was a community school, and so the community doesn't have that investment. The kids go all over the place now. It's what school choice has done. To me, you get a Lansing full promise scholarship that allows every kid to go to school or college for free who goes to Lansing schools. You start bringing kids back. You try to make them more. I don't think you'll ever get the true neighborhood school back, but you really reinvest and reinvigorate the Lansing schools, and it's never going to be the same because you don't have neighborhood community investment anymore in schools.
Next one from Mark. Why did Keon Coleman stick around all through spring practice instead of leaving as soon as the season was over?
Yeah, well, Keon Coleman's a little bit of a strange bird too. Like I mean, he's not. He's just a little.
And that's
bit
Graham saying that.
A little bit of a
He's
different.
the strangest bird.
Yeah, right. I'm not throwing stones here. I mean, Keon. I think he's a little bit of a different dude. Is a better way to say it.
Yeah.
And they were always a little concerned he could leave. They weren't even sure he was going to show up after he committed. Like he's that kind, whatever. And
I wish I could act like that.
yeah,
I'm envious. I understand it's kind of annoying sometimes, but to have that free, clear brain of just doing whatever,
You better
I'll
be
show
like-
up when I want.
you better be as good as him.
Well, yeah. Well, of course, yeah. That's why I haven't done it. Mark Snyder, Graham, has Rico or Valeni offered to have you on their show? They sure do speak your name a lot and have even played clips of your show.
They have not, and
Do they do like a guest thing?
I don't think they do. They don't do a lot of guests, do they?
I don't know.
I don't listen at all.
I do here and there, but yeah, I usually just hear the 97.1 callers that are. There's some good ones, but
Yeah, I'm glad I don't do it.
Oh, fuck no, absolutely not.
First of all, we wouldn't
I'd
hear
quit.
your dulcet tones reading these questions. Yeah.
Even if I spoke like Robert Kennedy or whatever, is that who it is? How is he going to be a president when he talks like that? You know what I mean? Like, I feel bad for him. What happened?
Well, I stammer enough. Like, we can't have callers. Like, you can only have one stammering boob on your show, and that's me.
Yeah,
So-
you just don't want to do callers. Yeah. Next one from Chris Eastlick. Did Graham throw a Taco Bell wrapper on the ground with the Michigan story breaking just before the Twitter question deadline? Had to be like the quick takes getting blown up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean,
Eastlick
What?
loves that story. You littering.
people don't know the Taco Bell wrapper story. The idea is that, and I did this once, a softball game was rained out, and my whole thing, I was pissed off with Mother Nature for not doing her part, so I just littered my Taco Bell.
Oh, man.
It was not my most mature moment, but it was like, we're all in this together, and I'm going to take care of you, Mother Nature, but on Thursday nights, don't fucking rain. It was that.
When you threw it down, right, like there's that, like where you're thinking about what you just did.
I felt bad. I threw it
You're
out
like,
of my car.
Jesus.
And I felt bad immediately. I was like, God, this karma's going to come back. I probably got COVID a week later or something. I don't know. No, I was earlier than that, but I was a lot younger. No, that stuff happens. I was just glad it happened before the show, and we were able to incorporate it.
Next one from Eastlick. Assuming Urban Meyer is not the guy and Mike Elko says no, where do they go from there? Jonathan Smith seems tough to pull from the West, and everything else seems underwhelming or incredibly risky.
I don't know. I mean, that's the real answer. Jonathan Smith's the Oregon State coach. I really don't know where their heads are. I've talked to people over there. I think one of the things that's really interesting about this search, and it's difficult for the fan base, and difficult for those of us covering it, is it is such a long runway. And that, first of all, even people like if I call Alan Haller tomorrow, Alan's not, they want this stuff silent as shit. I've talked to him about that. They know if this stuff gets out, that could ruin anything. He's not going to tell me that I can relay it to you. And if he were to tell me something, I can't relay it to you if he told me completely off the record. And so they know that they need this to be really secretive this year, especially with the long runway, with so many different candidates in mid-season right now. Like if Mike Elko, we saw what happened to him on game day, where he's having like the biggest game ever, and they're like, "Are you going to Michigan State?" It's like, oh, fuck you, no. That. What are you supposed to say? And I think the same with Urban Meyer. It's the same with any of these guys who are asked. I don't know where they'll go. I keep thinking that there has to be a name that none of us are really thinking about, that hasn't been on the list, that once you think about it, you'll be like, huh, that's interesting. You hope that person's out there. The big thing you have to make sure you do is don't hire John L. Smith over Urban Meyer this time.
Last one from Eastlick. Michigan State went hurry up unexpectedly, and Michigan struggled. Ohio State all of a sudden had Michigan receivers running wide open when they never had in previous years. Seems awfully coincidental with today's story, no?
Yeah, I don't know how often they've used it and what impact it's been with U of M scouting. Everybody pre-scouts off the film. A lot of people steal signs. Clemson was notorious for it at one point. So I don't know really what impact it's had, and certainly Greg Schiano's halftime video of the Rutgers-Michigan game this year, if that's what he was talking about, he was pissed. So
what else would he be talking about?
Probably that. I'm guessing it was that. And we'll see. It's not.
Did we see the post-game handshake between Schiano and Harbaugh?
I did not.
Did he say anything?
No. This is interesting, and the fact that there was, and Brendan Quinn, Brendan Quinn at The Athletic, you know how I feel about The Athletic, you know how I feel about Quinn, reported today that Michigan State, two sources there told him they considered not playing the game. I have not heard that. I also don't think Michigan State could have gotten out of the game really if they wanted.
I want to know who said that.
Yeah. So, but I don't.
I'm not saying it's wrong.
Correct.
But, yeah.
I don't doubt he was told that. I just question whether they actually could have pulled it off if they actually really wanted to. Although the COVID outbreak is usually the way to pull that off if you really don't want to play in a game. I don't know where this is going to go. It's obviously breaking today. I think we'll learn more. I have not had enough conversations with people like in the know yet to really have a sense of what's going on and where this may head.
Stephen Whitco next. Pistons have yet to play a meaningful game, yet Twitter fans already want to move on from the season. They clamored for Monty and now have the pitchforks ready with Ivy coming off the bench and Cade not looking as good as he did in the summer scrimmages. Justified or reactionary?
It's reactionary.
Yeah. How could it be justified already?
I'm not as big on Monty Williams as some others. Like I don't know that he's actually a great coach.
Like making him the highest paid coach in the NBA?
Yeah, I don't
Not
get
that
that.
high on him?
Yeah, couldn't really figure it out in Phoenix with this guy. Like I don't get it. I think
It's like Gores. I think you just have to get him in a good, like when he's in a good mood. And I think he's like, oh, absolutely.
Just give him a sponsor this show. Just give him a good mood. Hey man,
Right.
Come on. What do you think? The official Pistons show.
$1 million.
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right, why not? I don't think it's fair to him in the preseason. Let's see what it's doing.
Nate Rhodes next. Last week I asked if the Lions were the second best team in the NFC, but after that win on Sunday, I think a fair question is, are they the best team in the entire league? No. I still think San Fran's the best. But if we're not, I feel like if we're somewhat healthy, we're not far off.
Yeah, I would. If San Francisco is not healthy, it becomes interesting. Like if Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are not really a part of who they are, then it's different. But
and if they go into Baltimore this weekend and win that game, I think we can start talking as the season progresses, right?
yeah,
they're obviously in the top 3, I think. Nate Rhodes, will MSU ever have consistency in football like they do basketball?
I mean,
No.
it's unlikely. They'll probably never have it in basketball after his own kid. It's just so hard to do. And when they had it for a brief period of time, like, I guess if you want consistency, MSU's best shot at consistency in football is 8 wins, 7 wins, 9 wins, that realm, you know. But if you're talking about, like, because the equivalent of basketball with MSU and football is a team that I would say over the course of 25 years has, you know, 12, 10 plus win seasons. That's probably never going to happen at MSU.
Karen next. What crazy trickeration is Mark D'Antonio drawing up for Saturday? Because we all know this has been his assignment all along. And what will it be called?
It would be funny if Mark D'Antonio, like, just, and I do wonder if he'll speak to the team about this game, if they'll have many more. I just don't know what influence he could really have at this point, but if he did have one play, it was like like he did a little Sadler up the middle, something he really watched this team and said, this could work, and they let him do it, and it would be, I think it would just be the D'Antonio, right? You just have one play that it's the Coach D special, the D'Antonio.
Might need more than one play, though.
Maybe you come up with 7 or 8 trick plays, Mark. Just do that this weekend.
Why not? DeUper, when will people realize that the formula for success in this era is to get a head coach who can be the mascot in charge of setting the tone and vibes, and assistants that are responsible for X's and O's? Colorado with Dion and the Detroit Lions are 2 great examples of this.
Yeah, there are places where it can work. I still think you want a coach who can fix one side of the ball, who sets the tone, and it was D'Antonio on defense. The thing about D'Antonio is, no matter who they had on defense, it was his defense, and I know Narduzzi was a big part of that.
And by the way, it's not easy. What Campbell, I mean, you know what I mean?
No, right.
To come into a place like that and to flip stuff around, it's easier said than done.
It is true. Like, I mean, what Fleck did at Western Michigan, Fleck understood what he didn't know, and he hired really good coordinators, and he empowered them, and he set the tone and culture, and it worked for a while. People get tired of the tone and culture guys. Like, that's in a certain point you lose the coordinators who are key, and that's happened to Fleck in Minnesota, where he's been unable to keep the coordinator who really makes it go. And we'll find out with the Lions. Like, what does Dan Campbell post Ben Johnson? Like, is that a problem or not? I mean, Dan Campbell has earned the right to continue and not, you don't fire him and hire Ben Johnson, but I think there's some question about what they'll look like without Ben Johnson.
Professor next. Is it possible to pick a worse game to debut your all-black uniforms?
Not if you want to get rid of them for good, Although they seem to, still wear uniforms when they get hammered once in a while.
Alan Perlstein. Is the Michigan State brand strong enough to attract top head coaching candidates?
Yes, I think so. I think it's a top 25, top 20 brand in college football. And are there issues going on at MSU that could hurt them? 100%. But you should be able to get it's still a really good job. And there just aren't that many of these out there. Places where you can win, even if it's not automatic. Are there better jobs at Michigan State? Yep. How often do they come open? Not often.
David next. When will Graham write an article about MSU's basketball critical need to hire the best up-and-coming bone stress injury prevention expert in the country?
Working on it right now.
Well, if every team's they go through it, I mean, we could just hire someone's injury prevention person, right?
Yeah, and a guy to follow, Kyle B. Austin on Twitter. He's a guy who's curious about this stuff too. Look, there's no question when this happens, everybody's eyes raise. It's like, well, wait a second, how many years in a row is this? Or how many years has this happened relative to other people? And you have to think it through. And you do have to remind yourself, again, as I said before, that a lot of places where injuries happen, it's an ankle, it's a high ankle, it's something else, it's a boot on the foot. It's very, there are a lot of injuries that we just don't hear about. Michigan State is just extremely open about them.
Or you could be like Graham and just call 3 people that agree with you.
Or
that's fact.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to do any extra work.
T-Bone's dad next. Longtime listener, first-time caller. if the Spartans are happy, crying to one shining moment the first Monday in April, and A.J. Hoggard is Big Ten Player of the Year, will A.J. be on the MSU point guard Mount Rushmore?
Well, appreciate you, T-Bone, first of all. And the answer to this is yeah, if you are the point guard of a team that wins the national championship, you are going to be on the point guard Mount Rushmore. I don't think
This is July? What's happening?
I don't think there's any question. The only way you'd say no is if, and if he's Big Ten Player of the Year too, because the only way that wouldn't happen is if something happened to AJ and it was like Jeremy Fears or Tyson Walker running the show this year, and the whole thing happened. But yeah, if he's Big Ten Player of the Year, and they win a national championship and he has that kind of year, of course he's on the Mount Rushmore. Yeah, because then it's just the accomplishment alone is more than a lot of guys. It's probably Cassius, Magic, Mateen, AJ. Is that the fourth?
I mean, to get Izzo his second title, I mean,
Yeah,
why would
you're on
you?
there. Somebody else has to.
I'm putting him on there.
The three guys who
Win a
won
title.
national titles as the point guards, all as Big Ten Players of the Year at one point are it, right? And then you can argue other people, and it's probably Cassius after that.
T-Bone's dad, this Saturday, would you rather pay $100 to watch the basketball team scrimmage, Sans Kohler, R.I.P., R.I.P., or get paid $100 to watch us get bitch slapped next door at Spartan Stadium while listening to smarmy Michigan fans talk shit all around you? I can't look myself in the mirror asking this.
Well, it's free to go to the scrimmage, right? Or get paid $100 to watch the. I mean, I guess to each their own, but
You have to stay the whole game, or?
yeah. Look, I still think it's fun to go to games, and it's fun to, if you like tailgating and you like your seats and you like your team and you like your school, I would go, and if it starts to get too much to take, I would leave. And I would also tell you, if you're looking to leave at some point, and you can tough it out until like 2 minutes into the third quarter, do so. Because nothing is more deflating than running back out of the tunnel at halftime and the place is emptied out while you're away at halftime, or all the MSU fans are away. Just go get your ice cream cookie sandwich, which soon you'll be able to do separately at the dairy store, maybe even this Friday with a Groovy Donuts ice cream cookie sandwich. Anyway,
He's getting his deep voice going.
yeah. But yeah, I would. I can't tell you what you'd rather do. I mean, it
Yeah, you
sucks.
can.
I don't know.
Go to the basketball.
Pay $100, but he's saying pay $100.
I don't care. Yeah, I would.
I think it's free, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, we get ripped off. Nestle's Quick Hotel next. If MSU somehow wins on Saturday, is it a bigger upset than App State? And for police chief of Flavortown, if Michigan State were to somehow pull this off, would it be the biggest upset in the history of the rivalry? 2020 Michigan ended up being pretty bad, even though the spreads are similar.
Yeah, that was very different because Michigan had beaten Minnesota, which we didn't know was crap, and then Michigan State had 7 turnovers against Rutgers, and so that, and we just didn't know what was what. It was a weird year. COVID year was a weird year. No fans in the stands, all that stuff. Bigger upset than App State. It would not go down nationally as a bigger upset. Locally, and I don't know what the spread on App State was. Back then it was 1AA, so I don't even know if there was a spread in 07. I'm guessing the spread was more. But around here, it would, in terms of what it felt like to Michigan, and it would feel up there. App State is just going to be legendary forever, but it would be the biggest upset in Michigan State history, which would, I think it would be more painful to Michigan than App State. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Roof, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook. Hey, you remember that thing was like echoey for the YouTube, like there's a wire or something? I can't remember what it was. Remember we had it recently? That's happening again where like it feels like my mic is not, it's something weird when you actually listen to it. I think the podcast is fine, but the...
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, everything's echoey, huh?
It's like, we had that happen once before, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
Whoa.
Special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndMove20 for 20% off your first visit. Skyman Cannabis, you'll love this place.
It's like I can hear you in there or something. I don't know. It's all right.
Facebook, Google Podcasts, Castbox, and the Reed's favorite podcast app.
Couch in the Roof.
Was that big enough for you? You can see that?
Yeah.
Go.
Couch in the Roof. By our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app. We are answering your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. All right, Jason.
Yeah, Professor, if the Lions win another road game against a tough opponent, can we plan the parade? I can't start there yet. It's still weird watching like all of the shows like in the morning talk about how great the Lions are. So I'm still getting used to that. Can't plan a parade yet.
Yeah, at some point there will be like a tough week or two. Like there might be a 2-game losing streak. Like I think
Why?
the key is
It doesn't have to be a
not
2-game losing streak.
overreact to the bad week. It happens to everybody, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if what happened to the 49ers and Eagles happens to the Lions at some point, the key is not to overreact. Right?
Yeah, but it's impossible with, like I said, with that much time in between
Yes.
games.
You don't overreact.
Yeah. If something weird happens and we lose, I don't know. Kurt Wisniewski, have you guys ever tried a Dogfish Head pumpkin beer with a shot of whipped cream vodka?
I have not.
I retired from drinking about 3.5 years ago, and I would not drink that shit.
I would.
Whipped cream vodka.
I would drink whipped cream. I would do this. Yeah, I would.
Well, no
try
shit.
this. Yeah, I would try this.
Is that breaking news? Kurt Wisniewski, it's amazing to see pledges for MSU football. What makes this so? I saw that. Like, how?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
The kid doesn't have other opportunities, or he loves MSU. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a weird deal. I mean, it's not firm, but you know, if you like Michigan State and you want to be there, it's a really good question, and you know, and it means maybe the kid sees more in what he wants in college than just football.
Really? Can we talk to him? I want to know. Kurt, Lions plus 1,200 to win the Super Bowl. I did sprinkle on Goff MVP.
Did you?
20 to 1.
Okay.
I sprinkled.
I don't think that's
20 to win 420.
There's okay value in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Jacob Phelan. Oh, the 1,200 though. I don't know. Is there value in that right now? I would say that if they're the second or third best team, I think so, right? 12 to 1 on your money?
Yeah. I don't.
I'm not used to this.
Yeah. It's
Sorry.
And it's just hard for me to picture it going right for the Lions. So like I'm still struggling with, you know, if it wasn't the Lions and they were playing as well as they were and they were 12 to 1, I think I'd be all over.
We've seen so much.
Yeah.
Jacob Phelan next. Do you think Coach D'Antonio had anything to do with the move to Hauser? I feel that there was a lack of neutral, unbiased voice on the staff to make that move sooner or in camp.
No, I mean, they played it out through the bye week. They probably could have done it a week earlier. But they thought that was the best way to go. They probably should have done it a week earlier in hindsight. I think that's what it is.
Next one from Jacob. What role would best suit Harlan under a new regime? Nice guy coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. It depends also on whether the new coach sees him as a fit with what he does defensively, and I don't know, I don't know if he fits the type of defense. Like, he fit the type of defense. He spoke the language of save and ease, as Mel Tucker would say, and Harlan Barnett would say, and that's why it worked with him, with Mel Tucker. I don't know. It would have to be, or you'd have to have a guy who, like, assistant head coach in a role where, sometimes those guys are good sounding boards for players, and, I don't know. It would have to be a fit with the new coach.
Jacob, does Jackson Kohler's injury mean a longer leash for Xavier Booker?
I don't think Booker is going to play a lot of the five. Kohler was going to play maybe a little at the four, so maybe there's a little of that. But I think it was basically going to be the three guys at the five, and then Booker backing up Malik Hall. So I don't think, it's possible if there's foul trouble. The one thing I think it could happen now is there's the potential that Booker could see time at the five in certain circumstances, another injury or foul trouble or things like that. He gets closer to that, but I don't think it changes much of him at the four.
David, what's your next? MSU basketball lost their top scorer from last year, and they are outside the top 10 on Ken Pom. I know the freshmen have a lot of promise, but should we be prepared for another up and down season, or do we expect the returning guys to really take another step?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. I do think there's there's something to sweat equity. I think there is another level for Jaden Akins, especially. You wonder if Hoggard, who was humbled a little bit through the NBA process, understands that now. But I also think these young guys, like if you listen to Tom Izzo talk about Jeremy Fears, he thinks he's going to play. He thinks he's a player. And I'm going to do a piece on Fears for this weekend, just so you have something else to read on Sunday after the Michigan State-Michigan football game. But I don't think it should be an up and down season. Not with the seasoning they have and the talent they have. There might be some hiccups along the way here and there, but this should be a team that is consistently in the top 10 all year.
Crumb next. Graham, are you interested in joining a pickup game on Thursdays nights sometime? We could use your post presence down low. You look like you have a lot of Matt Stainbrook to your game.
I do. No, I'm kidding. I have a little bit of Matt Stainbrook.
Who the fuck is Matt Stainbrook?
Played at Western Michigan for a while when I covered the Broncos, and then lived in Kalamazoo, and then played for Xavier. He was the guy who was like an Uber driver back when that was like new.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that is. I would happily do it. We usually do this show on Thursday night, but if it somehow fit within the schedule,
screw it. Cancel the Thursday show.
I would
go play, man.
Yeah.
Live your life. Bo McJunkins, are you surprised Max Christie came back to campus? Have Izzo and the Christies mended fences?
I was a little surprised. I think it does speak to a guy who realized it wasn't all that bad, and I don't think there was ever Izzo was never like anti Max Christie. It wasn't like he's not welcome here. It was never that. I think Max Christie was just kind of done at the time, and I think you get away and. Much like a guy like Gary Harris, who learned about being 19 years old in the NBA and how difficult that is, it is.
But Izzo tells you like it is, though.
He does,
right? I mean, that's why it's hard to see anyone having a problem with Izzo. He's going to tell you what other NBA scouts think of you, right?
Yeah, but you also miss it too. You come back and you realize, boy, this was an age group of guys that I enjoyed being around more than these 30-year-olds and 25-year-olds I'm playing with who don't really want to be near me. I'm 19, what are they going to do with me? And I think it often, when you get away from it, you realize what you had, and the door was always open for him. They don't have that. There was never bad blood between Izzo and Max. They might have been disappointed he left. They might have not loved the way he left, and sort of, he, it might have not been the perfect relationship to the point that he did leave, but it was never like, Izzo likes Max Christie. He liked him the whole time he was there, and wished the best for him, and I think he's happy to have him back.
Bo McJunkins. Did Graham really say special teams isn't Ross L's fault? Maybe a few mistakes here and there, but when you have 5,000 illegal formation penalties, Graham, the coach might be a moron.
Did I say it wasn't Ross L's fault?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I don't remember that. I do black out from time to time in this show.
Yeah.
I don't have that memory. You have the audio.
It sounds legit though. Next one from Bo. We are hiring Jason Candle, aren't we?
I don't think so. The Toledo coach. I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh boy. DMB. When does MSU announce the football hiring? Let's say they find a guy in the next few weeks. Shouldn't they make it public right away for recruiting and player retention? It's not MSU's problem to care about the school the coach is taken from. Still praying for Urban.
I don't think it'll happen announcing-wise until Thanksgiving week or after Thanksgiving. Because you have to be fair to the current staff. You have to be fair to Harlan Barnett. And it's not just about them coming back. Those guys all know they're not going to get a job. It's about trying to coach players who are playing for you. You're all part of the team. If you've already been replaced, who are those players answering to? If you bring in a coach in November, by the way, most likely if it's not, Urban, it's going to be somebody who's still coaching another team. But if it were somebody that was available and they were aware, they're not going to answer you. They're not going to. They're
Yeah, but those kids aren't stupid. They know the coaches are dead men walking.
They do, but they don't have another coach.
So why listen to them now? Why do you need a coach to be named? Those guys aren't going to survive it, and those players know that.
That's a test of character.
We worry about everybody's feelings and shit all the time, especially with coaches. Who gives a shit? Sparty Homer next. There have been many rumors about Urban Meyer making a recent visit to East Lansing, plus tracking planes to his Sarasota home base. He's also directly denied any interest in the MSU job. Is there a shred of truth to the continuing rumors that he remains a head coaching candidate for MSU?
I don't know what the latest is. I don't believe he's not. I don't believe for sure that he's not interested because I haven't heard that from anybody who, But I don't know Urban Meyer either, and so you read things that he says people in his inner circle know he, isn't going to, doesn't want the job. Well, that maybe, but I also think he would say that if he eventually was interested, and there may be a price that he's interested at. I think if Urban Meyer really wants the job, he could be a very serious candidate for it, and he would have to sell himself a little bit to MSU. I don't think anything that's being said right now rules that out, but I also still think it's unlikely he's the coach. But I have not heard that he is out for sure from anybody that I trust. I just read the reports you have, and I think a lot of times that's just naturally what you say. Well, Urban Meyer is not going to say, yes, I'm interested in that job. You just wouldn't do it. I can tell you right now, you would not do it.
Sparty Mike next. Any reason to feel positive about the new football coach hiring process? Setting aside D'Antonio, we've picked some doozies in my time. No president, dysfunctional board, new AD who spent 13 years as a campus cop. Who's going to make this pick?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit belittling of Alan Haller, who wasn't just the 13 years as a campus cop. He was the football administrator in the athletic department. He was the head guy overseeing the football program under Mark D'Antonio in the later years. He'd been there for a while, and he was putting pressure on Mark D'Antonio to do some things with his staff. And he was part of the Mark D'Antonio hire and remembers that interview well. And he was part of the Mel Tucker interview, for better or worse. But I still think he's a seasoned guy in certain ways in terms of making a hire. And there are a lot of people, you will hear some dysfunction. You'll hear some people who aren't as high on Alan Haller, and that's fine. But I'm not sure I want any of them making the hire either. You don't want Matt Ishbia always making your move because he's always going to hire. He's always going to trade for Kevin Durant. And sometimes that's the right move, sometimes it's not. But he's kind of to me, a swing for the fences at all cost guy. And
sounds like fun.
It can be fun, but it can also be a disaster.
Munfield Keg next. Did Mel Tucker say the name Stephen St. Andre 3 times into a mirror, and this guy just appeared? Who is he? He seems to be new money and off to a rocky start on being a big-time MSU donor. I hope he does a better job on the presidential search committee.
Yeah, he was in with basketball with Izzo before he was a football guy. You know, I don't know him personally. I know some people who do, or at least know him to some degree. You know, I think his heart is in the right place. He wanted to help MSU. He wants to be somebody who, you know, solves this NIL issue, or at least an answer to it in some ways. I don't think what they did or what he did, I don't think SD4L was well organized at the end. I don't think pulling the plug was good timing. They're doing a tailgate this week. Maybe he'll be there. You could ask him, get a sense of it. I don't know if he will be or not. It's strange they're doing a tailgate this weekend after sort of, and are they still the official NIL collective of MSU? It's kind of a weird deal.
Nate, next. Should MSU football take a look at Lions OC Ben Johnson as the next head coach? Do you think that is even a possibility?
I mean, usually pro guys don't want to be college guys, and it's hard to go the other way to some degree. I mean, guys do here and there, but
the hottest coordinator in the NFL.
I can't imagine a guy who's going to get a head coaching job in the NFL next year wants to come to the college game. I mean, and sometimes, you know, remember the Marvin Lewis deal with Michigan State when was that the John L. or was that the Antonio? I think that was John L. You know, he was interested. He had been a guy who had been overlooked, been a great defensive coordinator, I think, with the Ravens, and eventually got the Bengals job there. But you know, he really wanted the Michigan State job because he wasn't getting an NFL job. But it was pretty clear when he interviewed that he was an NFL guy.
Clockton Spartan next. Did you watch Midnight Madness? The key takeaways. Who was the best looking player? Who was the worst?
Yeah, I did not watch it. And they don't do a lot of actual playing those. It's more not goofing around is the wrong word, but they do dunk contests and they do a little bit of scrimmaging. So I don't really have a sense of that. I've watched them practice a little. I watched them practice today. And you know, all that stuff's a little bit off the record in terms of what you're able to reveal. But you know, the one thing I will say about this group, because they are so deep, and there is some experience, and then young guys who are pushing, the practices are spirited, and there is a competition in those that you're not going to get a lot of places. They are going to face tougher competition sometimes in practice than they will in the games. I think that's healthy. I think they should be able to recruit to that. I think it'll help this team grow as well.
Matt Venny next. Who is the cringiest college football player? Tim Tebow or J.J. McCarthy? I mean, it's got to be Tebow.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about McCarthy, right? Does he like to party it like once in a while?
Yeah, I don't.
Does he talk about Jesus all the time?
I didn't know McCarthy was cringy. Did you?
I did not know that,
okay.
No. But I don't watch all the interviews and stuff. But Tebow is just, I feel like he's a nice guy, but I'm like, you know, they always tell you not to trust people that have never gotten into any trouble. And I don't think he has, right?
Whether we know or he's paid for long.
Yeah. Matt Venny. Has there ever been an MSU football player who has been given the benefit of the doubt by both coaches and media, yet continues to be a zero on the field, than Malik Carr?
You know, Malik Carr is a guy they need this week, by the way, badly. He is a guy I think makes a difference you know, look, we saw it against Iowa early on. He is one of the guys just physically can be a difference maker. He was not against Rutgers, and I don't know why that is. And I don't know what, you know, they need him to be a guy who's an impact player because he can be a problem, but he just isn't very often. And, you know, I think that's a couple things. One, these aren't college kids. You know, how you write about Malik Carr is going to be different than how you write about a 26-year-old pro. That said, there's no doubt that he has not performed to the level of expectations, and that should be written and it should be said. And it's been a little disappointing.
Dave Anderson next. How many groovy donuts would I have to buy to guarantee never hearing the names Urban Meyer or Marcus Freeman on your show again?
Would you have to buy me, or would you have to buy period? Actually, either way.
40 dozen.
You buy 40 dozen
Yep.
groovy donuts, 40 dozen groovy donut boxes.
Mm-hmm.
We will come up with a code, maybe 50 acres or Marquis pretty long or something like that. No, we'll not do that.
What?
I don't know. I know it's bad. But no,
You're still saying Marcus Freeman, except you're just being weird about it.
Yeah. By the way,
Fremont.
anybody, if
Wow.
you don't want and by the way, place an order. Give them some time. Don't go, don't do it like the day before. You need 40 dozen. Although how much 40 dozen really isn't that many? That's actually
It's like 500 donuts. Or
It's
something.
still pretty doable for Groovy Donuts.
Well,
It's
no
not like-
shit. I mean, I didn't want. What am I going to say? 100,000 donuts? I don't know.
Right. 40
Why are we
dozen.
still on this? Is this a live read?
No, but well, it could be. But
Oh.
yes, it was going to be. But now it's ruined.
Sorry. Dave Anderson. Since there's no dearth of insane hiring takes, I'm putting forward one, and I don't even favor, just to show it makes more sense than some of the other silliness. Ready? Mike Loxley, FBS head coaching experience, turnaround guy. Maryland is undeserving. Kidding. I love Elko and Huff.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Loxley obviously is kidding. Would not. You don't want a guy who I think has a real ceiling, and I think Mike Loxley would drive MSU fans nuts for the same reasons some previous coaches. I'm not saying he's John L. Smith. I think he's a pretty good recruiter, but I think his teams are always going to have the game that they had until Illinois once a year, and that's going to be frustrating.
Next one from Dave, half serious here. Could D'Antonio be an effective special teams coach? If so, why wait?
Yeah, that's a good point. He probably could be. He's been in the game a long time, and his special teams was.
But what about Ross Ells and his family?
Well, his contract's still there. He's not. He's
Oh.
not getting paid.
I just thought you had to say that.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad idea actually. I mean, he's a guy whose special teams were normally pretty good.
Sports Guy 1919. If MSU was coming off a 11-1 season, trajectory of the program upward, would Mel Tucker have been fired? No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's me saying that. No.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been interesting. I don't think it would have gone down exactly the same way. If everybody in the world was high on Mel Tucker, and this happened, it's a really tough one because MSU would have to say yes right now. It would be an interesting deal. I do think he would have been suspended for sure, and it would have gotten interesting after that.
Next from Sports Guy. Do fans care way more about Michigan and MSU rivalry compared to players, as most players aren't from the state of Michigan?
The players yes, to some degree fans are, but players playing it once and get it, and they'll tell you that. And players who have been in it for 2-3 years totally get it. They're in it.
And when you're recruited, right, it's talked about. And
It is, and they'll talk about the first time you take a hit in this ride. It's just different. The intensity out there, that you just the whole week, how many people around you care about it. It's just there is a buzz and energy, the focus. They'll talk. Players when they're freshmen will talk about just like watching the upperclassmen, how dialed in they are that week of practice. Like, holy crap, what the hell's going on here? Like, it's something that becomes ingrained in the culture pretty quickly.
Jarrett next. Does Notre Dame just need to have less than 3 losses every year to make the playoff with 12 teams?
It's a good question.
Can't have 3, right?
Well, yeah, you can go 9-3 some years. If Notre Dame might be able to if they have a schedule like this. Like Notre Dame's had a wicked schedule this year. I would argue is good as any in the country, and probably better than any in the country thus far. And hold on, give me some Hoff for 1 second.
Wow, Hoff.
So Notre Dame has played. Hold on, shit. Watch this. So Notre Dame plays NC State on the road. Wins comfortably. NC State's not that good. But then they beat Ohio State. Sorry, they lose to Ohio State. They play at Duke, who's ranked at the time. At a ranked Louisville team. They host a ranked USC team. I mean, they've got Clemson still down the road. I mean, it's been to this point, it's certainly been as tough as any schedule in the country. And if you play that every year, and you're 9-3, they're going to be in the discussion.
Jarrett next. Which assistant coach on the football staff has been the biggest disappointment over the past 4 seasons?
That's I mean, that's tough for me to say.
And why is it Jay Johnson?
Because, I mean, there have been, certainly there are areas of the, you could say, for example, that it is Scotty Hazelton, but then you see a defense start to come together with young talent, and all of a sudden it looks okay, like maybe he's a decent coach. And so I think talent plays a role in that. I think, obviously the offense under Jay Johnson has not been inspiring of late. The special teams have been a disaster this year. So, take what you want.
Jarrett, start, bench, and cut. Drew Neitzel, Chris Hill, Tyson Walker.
I would start, bench, cut. I would start Tyson Walker. I would bench Drew Neitzel. I would cut Chris Hill.
Same. Andy Schofield next. Do you think the staff still talks to Mel Tugger, or have they cut all ties with him? If they do talk, is it personal stuff or still football?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think there have been a couple. I know Harlan Barnett had some texts from Mel early on, and sort of cordial text back and forth when he was taking over things. But I don't know if it's happened regularly. And I
Mel's just like, how are the running backs doing?
Yeah.
Offensive line okay for you? What the fuck?
Yeah.
You're supposed to talk about.
You seen the show, The Equalizer?
It's not as good as the movies. Andy, is the MSU game plan going to be a lot of Carter and Carr?
It should be to some degree. I mean, I think those are two of your guys who, I don't want to give you an advantage against Michigan, but give you a chance. Carter's your difference maker. Carter's a really good back. Yeah, I mean, I think Malik Carr, what they did with Iowa early on with him, trying to get him as involved as possible is smart.
Next one from Andy. Graham, be honest. Have you ever done anything sexual with a donut?
Wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no.
Dude, your fans are weird, man.
I would, yeah. I mean,
well, that's true, but you have, though.
I've enjoyed a donut and made noises that could be construed as sexual, but I've never done anything sexual with a donut. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You've never brought a donut into the bedroom.
Correct. I'm not a big eater in bed. I like my sheets to be clean. I don't want crumbs.
Noted. David Jackson and Couch on Fire and Nate Rhodes. Should we buy Red Wings playoff tickets now? And from room temperature take, how many MFers are on this one? And from room temperature takes, can we get some Red Wings talk on the pod? Vegas isn't high on them yet, so money is to be made. They've been underdogs in 75% of games and are 3-1. Hold on. Hold on. I forgot how great this one is. We have to do it just so we can play this.
And the Red Wings are up to a good start. Opposing teams are talking about how good they are. I don't know. I've got an over. I have an over-under on them for the season at like 86.5 points, just because I wanted to have a little action on them. And
oh man, I forgot how great that was. I miss you, Doug, if you're listening.
I don't know enough to know if they're great.
Doesn't matter. We're gonna do it.
All right, we're in.
Yeah. David Jackson. Is this the least engaged MSU fan base in Michigan week of your professional career, Graham?
No. I mean, people are still engaged to some degree. Just they're reading a fair bit. They're still there. They're just down. I think there's a difference. They're depressed. It's not that they're not engaged. They're just like, and that's.
But it's basketball season that keeps people above water.
Yeah, right? to some degree. But people are still talking football. I think the fact that what's different this year than other years is there is this sort of new coach going to happen deal. Where in some years, if it's just the same coach and they suck, that's frustrating in a different way. People are still engaged. But it's not there's not an intensity about this team, and certainly nobody's talking shit.
David Jackson, is this David, if Kate Hauser plays well for the rest of the year, how does MSU keep Sam Levitt engaged with the program and enrolled in 2024?
It does. I think it's really hard to do, and maybe you get lucky and Sam Levitt's enjoying the heck out of being a freshman on campus at Michigan State and thinks he can beat out Kate Hauser, and the new coach comes in and says, I'd really like you to stick around. And he does. The beauty of this for guys now is that because the one-time transfer rule is in place, it's not like I need to transfer, sit out, and get out of it. If you're Sam Levitt, you do one more year at Michigan State, you can transfer and still have 3 years left. So you can stay put and see how it goes, and so that's what you have to hope. But it's going to be really hard to keep both those guys. I would be surprised if both come back next year. I would think what you're hoping is one of them does. You're probably going to have to hit the portal for a backup, and then have a freshman come in as well.
Room temperature. They are the Lions of last year. Probably won't be a ton better than 500, but are frisky and probably 1 year away from serious contention. Yeah, whatever. Fart Soup next. Late night television edition. Whatever happened to Miss Cleo? Are you Googling?
No, I mean, she can't be alive, is she?
Are you killing Miss Cleo?
All right, Miss Cleo. Oh, she died in 2016.
Unbelievable.
I didn't kill her.
Rest in
She was
peace.
young too. She was born in '62. Wow.
62?
Yeah, like it.
That's young?
Yeah, born in 1962.
Yeah. I
Yes.
was born in 79 and I feel old as shit. What do you mean?
But she died. No,
62, dude. I feel like I'm halfway dead.
She wasn't even 60 years old when she died.
Oh, that is young.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Rest in peace. Fart Soup, how many times did young Rube ever call 900 numbers? Nah. I found out that the code to our remote did not have the child lock on it, so I just ordered blocks of porn. Because they would give you 24 hours of porn for a certain price. So I ordered that and just waited till the cable bill came in the mail.
And what would happen when the cable bill came?
Actually, my dad never really said anything until we were driving, because we lived near Detroit, so we would come back and visit my grandparents, and just randomly, he just looks over at me, he's like, I got the cable bill, right? And I was like, what does that mean? I went full Harbaugh. I was like, I don't, it's unbelievable. I don't even, what porn? I'm 15. I haven't hit puberty. All right. I'm like, looking back at it, I was like, MFer, you were 15 once. What do you think I'm doing? It was the greatest day of my life when I hit that enter button, and all of a sudden they had the countdown clock from 24 hours. I woke up every 3 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is.
I need a Gatorade.
That is a story worth telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. If you're looking for a place for a date night this weekend, brunch on Sunday. Trivia Tuesdays or any occasion, go to midtownbrewing.net, check out their menu, or just swing on by.
I did call twice, though, and it wasn't that great. Fart Soup. Did either of you watch endless hours of Highly Scrambled, the black and white TV channels, late at night, thinking that maybe, just maybe, you saw boobs?
Yes. You?
Fart Soup, how old are you? Yes, absolutely. It wasn't black and white. I had color television, but it would go color to scramble to black and white. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was what you did.
Oh man.
And
Sears catalogs. It didn't matter.
we were better for it because you had to have an imagination.
Yes.
And I think porn is too readily accessible today.
It would have been wild if I would have had Pornhub when I was 15.
Not good.
Jesus.
Not good. They would have had to put
IV.
plastic up on all the walls in
Hey,
the room.
let's not get gross. What's wrong with you? Tyler, more likely, Washington to win the college football playoff or the Detroit Lions to play in the NFC Championship game. What a weird combo there. I say the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Lions to play in the NFC Championship game too. I do think it's more likely than Washington winning the college football playoff. Number one, I think there's a chance they're going to have to beat Oregon again, and they don't. I think there's a pretty good chance they don't when they play in the Pac-12 championship game. And so I don't know if Washington will get into the playoff. The Big 12 may get two, and that may be it. But I think the Lions have a decent shot in getting to the NFC championship game if they can avoid. I'd take the Lions.
Tyler, more likely Iowa leading the Big Ten championship game at halftime or MSU beating Michigan outright. I don't know. Neither.
Yeah, I mean, what's
Option C.
Yeah, what's
Fade
C,
both.
Me playing European basketball. C.
I'd take C. Tyler, more likely MSU basketball to win the NCAA championship or the Lions to win the Super Bowl.
You know, I actually think this might be the Lions. I think it's the Lions are good enough, and it's hard to win even if you're one of the best 4 or 5 teams, it's hard to win the national championship. And the Lions are good enough to win the Super Bowl if things break right. And I don't know. This one's really close. This is a good question, but I might take the Lions here.
Tyrone Plum next. Best way to beat Michigan this week? Trouble with the snap luck or just play a better game?
You need both. You need you need to play well, but you're going to need some things to happen.
A couple trouble with the snaps wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, you need Michigan to royally screw this up in ways they have.
Tyrone Plum next. Fuck, marry, kill. Groovy Donuts, soccer, or the show?
Well, I don't know about you, but I would marry Groovy Donuts. I would have soccer, and I would kill this show.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyrone Plum, piano or violin?
Oh, it's piano. First of all, the violin is, if you're good at the violin, fine, but both are painful early on. But I think if you can jam on a piano in like a college dormitory, you're going to do well for yourself.
Matt Drolette next. You think Michigan State will ever get so bad that they'll be playing on Thursday nights?
Well, if it's not part of the TV contract in the Big Ten, it won't. I mean, none of these guys are, right? Are there any Thursday night TV or Big Ten games? I don't think so.
Matt Drolette. Isn't the next logical athletic department position a football general manager that manages NIL and portal? What is a donut flavor that does not exist but should?
Oh, these are 2 separate questions. I don't know that it doesn't exist. I'd have to think about that. Cheesecake is one of my favorite things in this world. It's a guilty pleasure.
No kid.
So, yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah, so a cheesecake donut, but that might exist because they already have cheesecake they already have like a cream cheese filling. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about that. But the Groovy Donuts already has things that sort of supplement that. I don't know. I think this, though, the first part, I do think there is something to this. That having more of a general manager role in college football is a real, I think, what's the guy who went to Arizona State who was the former Jets? Herm Edwards.
Yep.
You were going to say all sorts of names and just fuck me over when I come up with that.
No!
Yeah.
I couldn't remember either.
Herm Edwards tried to do this at Arizona State, and it didn't work because he wasn't the right guy for it. He tried to do it as the head coach. But I do think there is a world in which you have some sort of GM that works with the head coach and manages this stuff. And I think that's something that college football might be headed to, especially if you wind up with players as employees and a lot of different stuff like that.
Nick Palmer, are you guys selling merchandise around the holidays?
I don't know, we might do shirts again. People seem to like that. Would Therese be up for it?
What do you think?
She'd
It would be her idea to actually, yeah, she would love to.
All right, then
She
we'll
loves
do it.
that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Horton, Graham, the upper deck bathrooms on the east side of the stadium are what I'd imagine a prison bathroom is like. The east facade should use a facelift. Will these upgrades ever be made? What Spartan Stadium upgrade is next?
Yeah, I mean, they're aware of certain things that need to be done. I know that, and I don't know what's next, though. It's a good question, and one that should be asked. And next time I do like to sit down with Haller, once they get through this football search and stuff, I'll
As someone that's been in a prison bathroom, allegedly, yeah, they don't even compare.
no troughs and no nice troughs and things like that.
No. Sparty Ben next. All of Michigan's success these past 3 years will be vacated, right?
I don't think so. They're not going to go to that point. But unless they found like just absurd levels of Harbaugh's like in a tree scouting Michigan State practices, in disguise.
Would that do it, really?
I don't
I don't know. Is that going to be reported?
Oh, what are you saying? The blue wall would cover that up?
You said it. Sparty Ben, how many of the Detroit, Michigan Blue Wall writers will say this is a big nothing burger and act like Michigan is the victim? God, I hate nothing burger.
That's a word.
Fucking hate it. Stop using it.
Blue wall writer. Look, people are already writing about this. It's been written about in both the Detroit papers, so I don't think anybody's ignoring it. I saw Woj tweeted about it, so there's that.
Good start.
I think Mitch has a book signing, so I don't think it'll happen there, but, otherwise.
Can't wait to hear what Mitch says. JD, can we get like Draymond and Steve Mariucci to break the Liz Frank curse on MSU basketball, like Peyton Manning and Jeff Daniels broke the Bobby Lane curse for the Lions?
Jeff Daniels broke the Bobby Lane curse?
Yeah, I don't. Well, we got to win something first, but they did. I think something last year with the Manning cat, or Manning does all that shit. He probably had Jeff Daniels on. I forget. I remember watching it, but
when we vacation in Marquette, we stay at the same house that Jeff Daniels vacations in on Lake Superior.
The same house.
Same house. We found that out the first time we were at this house, and it's a nice house as it's backs up, has its own little steps to the beach on a little bay in Lake Superior. But it's not like it's out of this world. I mean, it's not. If put it this way, if you ever rent a vacation home, you can afford this vacation home. It's not like it's out of this world price.
So he's Jeff Daniels. He has to get $100,000 Airbnbs.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, in Marquette there isn't much nice. It's not like Marquette has like luxury, places that are going to be better than this.
It's not the Four Seasons, but I mean.
Yeah, we just found that out that he had been there. He had stayed there before, and he was supposed to be there the week before us the first time we stayed, and it had to, for some reshoot for a movie, had to go do something.
JD, surely the investigation into Michigan's cheating is in no way related to Matt Weiss's computer crimes, yeah? Looks like maybe you'll end up avoiding that blue wall tat on a technicality.
That was always the plan. I actually set Harbaugh up for this, by the way. I did not disguise this Harbaugh in practice.
We should talk about that tattoo, though. Might need to happen. Cucker Tarleson, if you're Noah Kim standing on that sideline against Rutgers, are you actively rooting against your team or, at the least, Kate Hauser?
Yeah, you're probably a little bit.
You're rooting for him to suck.
That's the problem. I bet you're not feeling great about it. It's tough. I don't know. I would hope he's a better man than I would be, but I would be rooting against.
At that age?
Yeah.
Nah.
It would be really hard.
Be like, fuck these guys.
The only way is you do have, and I don't know that Noah Kim and Kate Hauser have this relationship, but you do have certain friends in this world where you'd be like, I want this guy to do well, and that could.
And lie.
No,
I want Graham to do well. I hope you do well, Graham.
Fuck off.
Absolutely. I hope you're gambling. You win every gambling bet. Couch on Fire. Speaking of, is plus 235 for the Wings to make the playoffs a good bet?
I think it's not bad, but I don't know.
I don't think so.
You don't think it's good?
Well, my friend Jordan, he's a diehard Red Wings guy, and I was talking to him, and he said their division's so tough that it would be hard for them to. And I see plus 235. He's telling me that he knows what he's talking about. I just don't think that number's good then.
I feel like this is the most Red Wings. Like, there's clearly a buzz about the Red Wings. At some point, we should do something Red Wings related.
Yeah, gamble on them.
Gamble on them. Yeah, but we should get somebody who actually knows what the fuck's going on to come on and talk.
Jordan can come on.
Yeah, bring Jordan.
Couch on Fire. My Michigan friends seem to be very into this game. Tired of getting pushed around by MSU?
I think they're excited about what might be.
Sure. That's
And-
not crazy.
And that's not, it's not abnormal. Like, if the roles were reversed, Michigan State fans would be licking their chops. And there were some years where the roles were somewhat reversed, and MSU fans enjoyed it. And, it's just the nature of the rivalry.
Couch on Fire. Best MSU versus Michigan victory. Mine is the TJ Duckett TD. Scared the hell out of my wife and dogs with the screaming from the man cave.
Yeah, for me, it was 15 years old, back when I would go to games with my dad, and it was the, Tony Banks and Isaiah Carter touchdown pass to beat Michigan in 95, and just that whole stadium and that ambiance, and I don't think I'd ever been to a Michigan State game in any sport, maybe before that. Like, that was a big deal. We didn't have tickets that often, the things before that year, and just that night, like, anybody's ever been to a game where it's just a really cool vibe among fans, and naturally I had it was a 30-degree day, and I still had an ice cream and cookie sandwich.
I gotta say, the trouble with the snap.
For you, is it?
Right?
Well, so
I mean, I remember the Duckett TD. It's great and all, but the magnitude of it, who I was watching it with, what transpired, it was just, all in all, I just couldn't believe what was happening.
Well, and that's like most experiences. What you remember is who you were with, how you felt, and where you were, and all that stuff. And that, since I've been covering the team, what I usually remember is, oh fuck, I got to redo the quick takes, or I got to redo this column, or whatever. I mean, like, I remember the trouble with the snap I missed the initial snap. I saw him like try to pick it up and get tackled, trying to figure out what's going on. Should he step out of bounds for a field goal because the clock's going down? I know I've got, and it was Sean Windsor's mother had died. And so I remember that I was filling in extra for the free, but I had multiple like deadlines to hit. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I was sort of prepared for Michigan State to lose. So I didn't actually, like, that's the stuff you remember. You know, I don't remember feeling like, wow, what a game. I remember feeling utter panic about the deadline, and people discovering that I was a complete fraud as a writer.
Sorry to hear about Windsor's mom.
And that too.
Yeah, I know it was a while ago. But Gator next. Hey, Graham. Where's all your blue wall writers with the Matt Weiss sign-stealing laptop columns? About as many as the Dr. Anderson columns, Player AD carpool columns, anti-Semitic columns, and Taylor Lewan rape abuser columns. Mr. Jason, hit the spin zone. Love you guys.
So,
I went out here.
yeah, I mean, the sign stealing stuff just happened today, and it was a story that was broken by Yahoo midday. There will be columns on this. This happened quick. Like, columns don't happen instantly. A good column is often a 4 or 5 hour project. Often there are calls that have to be made. I would be curious to see what is in the Freedman News tomorrow about this. There's already been lots of coverage. We'll see, but this is a big story. This is not. I don't think this will be a nothing.
Don't say it.
I won't say it.
Don't do it. Zeke's fan page. Would you rather have no NFL, but the Tigers are elite every year, or still have the NFL, but the Lions never make the Super Bowl? I'm moving on from this question. That's absolutely terrible.
You have no NFL with the Tigers elite every year, or you still have the NFL with the Lions? No, I take no NFL and have the Tigers the elite every year, I guess. I mean, but it's if the Lions never made the Super Bowl, the question is, would you know it? Because if you knew it was never going to happen, then it would likely be sort of pointless.
Yeah. Zeke's fan page. When is Groovy Donuts making a Zeke the Wonder Dog donut?
Well, you could call anytime, like anybody. If you wanted a Zeke the Wonder Dog donut, you could order one at groovydonuts.com or give them a call, and they will make you a Zeke the Wonder Dog donut. I mean, that's.
Is this like the legit, like Zeke the Wonder Dog's Twitter
I
account?
think so. It's a fan page, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, the last one from Zeke's fan page. What are your thoughts on Feng Shui?
It's a feng shui. I don't know. What is this?
FENGSHUIE? UI? Feng Shui. Why? You think it's porn?
I don't know. The basics of.
What's your thoughts on Feng Shui?
Yeah, it's like feng shui is what it is, right?
I guess.
Feng shui.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll move on.
Matt C. Why does Matt Charbonneau act like a 5-year-old on Twitter? Was he not hugged enough as a child? He's an embarrassment to your profession, Graham.
I'm going to stick up for Matt. Matt was a heck of a journalist. Is a heck of a journalist. He's obviously stepped away from it, and he.
What was he getting into?
He got into a Twitter battle about. Somebody called him out, I think, originally on the Kate Hauser stuff or whatever it was. I don't know. Matt is not only a good guy, but he was a heck of a journalist, and
I read that in Windsor's column. Yeah, it was amazing. Matt C. Give me one reason why Harlan Barnett is not the stepdad you only tolerate because he can't discipline you. I always loved the mom boyfriends that would just had no idea.
Nothing they could
give
do.
me a ride to school and be like, take me home. It's the best.
No, I think Harlan has a better grip on things than that. I don't think that's really fair to him. He does not have the look. I would say this: he does not have the look on the field that inspires confidence, and that's not his strength. But
that's a problem then.
Well, yeah, but that's fine. But that's not who he is behind the scenes. I think people respect him.
Yeah. Matt C., can you invent a time machine so we can make sure the fathers of every MSU football coach pulled out so we never had to watch them destroy MSU football? Appreciate you in advance.
Well,
I love Matt C.'s passion. Hans Jurgen, who was your second favorite gambling expert behind Harry, of course?
big fan of Dan Kilbridge. And Dan has had some great runs. Now, he's obviously a personal friend, but he's had some great runs.
What about someone you don't know?
I
69 with.
I listen to the Wonder Goal podcast, which I like. There are a couple different Premier League podcasts, but the Wonder Goal podcast is my favorite. And those guys betting the Premier League and other side.
Hans Jurgen, is there any reason for MSU to continue playing football this year? If we quit, would the Big Ten let us back in next year?
That's it. I'm telling you, the COVID outbreak is there if you want. No, you only get so many of these games. A lot of these players only get so many of these games. People wait all year for this. I know it's not pretty, but you want to keep playing.
Next one from Hans. Is it me or is the SEC overrated this year? I say it will be a go blow versus Washington National Championship game featuring me hiding under my covers in fear.
The SEC, I don't want to say it's overrated because I don't think people are rating it that high this year. I mean, the league is down. It's not been a great year. It's too bad for the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 should freaking take from the Big Ten and SEC. It's the best conference in football right now. I wish that's the way it works. I can't stand what's happened to it. There's a real chance Michigan's in the national championship game. They're that good. But I also think that there are two other teams in the Big Ten that are legitimately in their way, and I don't think it's a guarantee they get past Ohio State. I don't think it's a guarantee they get past Penn State. It's really a three-team league.
Last one from Hans. Go blow football is as best as it's been since '97. How do I cope?
A lot of groovy donuts, man. Just eat weed, feel good. Weed is good. Yeah, good for life. And MSU basketball, if you're an MSU fan.
Jake Hawkins next. Thought about MSU still willing to break out all black uniforms because seniors like Trey Mosley wanted to.
I mean, these guys are having a shit year. Might as well do something the players want. If the players want to wear a certain uniform, I think that's a great idea. I would let those guys. I mean, think about this. Trey Mosley, you dream of your senior year. You finally get to be the guy. You're hoping it's fun, and this is what you get. And if what you want to do is wear black uniforms, I'm all for it.
Next one from the Hawk. If MSU gets humiliated by Michigan, should those uniforms go in hiding like the sparkling silver ones against Duke in 2003?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a legendary loss, like if this winds up being like 60-3, you burn them. You burn them on on Shaw, or you burn them on Grand River that night.
Jake, whoever gets hired as MSU's next football coach, how many more primetime games will MSU have next season? Do you think NBC is having buyer's remorse, landing a Big Ten TV deal and having to settle for games where MSU's playing?
Well, that's a good question with the TV networks. I mean, if they didn't do the math on how many good Big Ten games there would be this year, I think they knew for a minute it wouldn't be great. Adding the 4 teams to the Pac-12, there are going to be a lot more better games. So think about a year from now, you're at least most likely going to have one decent team in your even if you're the third choice that week, you're NBC. So, but I don't think MSU is going to have that many fewer primetime games. MSU is still a better brand than Purdue or Indiana and a lot of the teams, and they've got to fill a primetime game every week on NBC, and sometimes it's the third choice of games, even though, because Fox will get its pick, CBS will get its pick in the 3:30 game. So MSU's going to play a lot on primetime.
Next one from Jake. How much influence do you think Tom Izzo is or will have on MSU's football coaching hire?
I think he'll be in the room, so to speak, in terms of a sounding board. I don't know if he'll be in the actual interview. It's possible. Or in some final, I think he'll have a discussion with that person. I think he will reach out to use his connections to find out about people they're interested in. I think those are all things he'll be useful.
Last one from the Hawk. How many Michigan fans do you anticipate being at Spartan Stadium Saturday night? If MSU fans sold their tickets, would you hold it against them?
No, I mean, I'm not going to hold. I mean, people should do what they want to do, and those tickets are expensive, and people's time is precious, and it's not always great to be there. In the Premier League, in English soccer, they do something where, like, you get your season ticket, it's like a credit card. You don't go, but you're not usually selling that ticket. They'd rather have an empty seat than a ticket sold to an opposing fan. Perhaps.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's probably the better way to go.
But like, how much could Michigan State fans get for their tickets right now, though?
That's a good
like,
question.
could you make money? If you're not making money, I just would eat them.
Yeah, and I always say this: there is always a kid who doesn't usually get to go to a game who would love to go. I've been that kid.
Like an after-school special.
I'm sorry.
I understand.
I remember in 1988 when a neighbor from across the street came over and gave us tickets to an MSU Iowa game that I think wound up being a 10-10 tie. And I wore a Hutch football uniform to the game, for fuck's sake. But it was such a big deal when they came in. I was like, I don't think I've been to one. Maybe I've been to one MSU game before, but the idea that we were going to a game was like really, really fun. And I wasn't even like some poor kid. I'm just saying, there are lots of kids who don't get to go all the time and would think that's really cool. Lots of people that would.
So you weren't a poor kid, so you should have let a poor kid go to the game instead of you.
I wasn't
That's what you're
I
saying.
wasn't charitable. I said I was.
Valid. All right, let's get to the jerk guy. Who will have the higher winning percentage, the Pistons or the Red Wings?
Oh, Red Wings. I don't think it's close. I mean,
It scares me when he asks like a normal question. I don't know what's behind this. Speaking of, what percentage in Spartan Stadium will be Michigan fans?
I would say it starts out about 33%, but in the second half it's over 50%. Not because more fans come, because Michigan State fans leave.
Would you say that you're an ultra crepidarian?
Yes, this means expressing opinions on matters outside of the scope of one's knowledge or expertise. 100%, 100%.
Lastly, from the jerk guy, when Jason went into prison, did he pick a fight with the biggest guy to establish his rep? There was no rep to establish. I just wanted to get in and get out. And I didn't go to prison, it was jail. County jail, not a bad person. Anymore.
I love when you tell prison stories. We appreciate all of you and producing our show for us. Thanks to Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Excited for their partnership with the MSU Dairy Store. Which I think maybe this weekend you'll be able to, as early as this weekend or very soon, be able to get Groovy Donuts ice cream cookie sandwiches. Pretty incredible. We appreciate Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Great place this weekend for brunch, for drinks, whatever it might be. We'll be back. We'll have some hot takes Sunday night. See how this all goes. Couch on the Roof. Good show, man.
Damn it.